Book Off is a popular used goods shop here in Japan. In addition to books, they carry DVDs, CDs, and comics. In fact, it's quite appealing to someone of my generation who grew up with physical media from book and music stores. The video game section is particularly fun to explore, and recently I struck gold. It really was just an absolute treat to find both of these in the aforementioned Book Off. I think like most people who frequent secondhand stores, secondhand bookstores, it's always hit or miss, and I usually pop in there once a week, every 2 weeks, and rarely find anything comparable to this. But these two game guides, I really can't think of two other games that I guess affected me or influenced me. I don't know if that's the right word, but two games of which memories I have stronger than these: Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and Final Fantasy. It's 4 here. The Japanese version, the release was Final Fantasy 4. In the United States, Final Fantasy 2. And I'm not going to talk about both of these today. Both are filled with some just fun artwork, some in-game images. But if this video is popular, which we'll see, not many of my videos are, but if they are, we'll come back to this one later. There are some fun things in this book here, and, well, in both books. But I really want to talk about this one today. This has got some amazing artwork inside. It's got some great artwork and a lot of these lovely just sprite characters and enemies that I really want to go through this. So we're going to spend a bit of time today, if you so choose, dear viewer. But I would like to go through both of these eventually, but really quickly, both of these games, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, on Super Nintendo, I remember waiting for months for this to be released, reading and rereading the Nintendo Power magazine about this. Probably replayed this easily a dozen times when I was younger, so great game, and still pretty popular, and played these days by the speedrun community. There's a community of players that have found several glitches in this game where you can basically get to places a lot earlier than you're supposed to get there, and they use this for speedruns and so on. So this game is still played, very popular. This game here, Final Fantasy 2 in the United States, probably even in the EU and Europe when it was released, but Final Fantasy 4. It's rare in life that I think we can trace events back to one thing that might have influenced us in our life. For me, this game started a downward spiral of sorts. That's a joke. But this was the first Final Fantasy I ever played. And after this, it was a good 25 years to where I was playing this line of games. I recently just stopped playing 14, the online game, I think 2 years ago. Played it for years, still would like to play it, but it's not enough time in the day to really dedicate to spending hours to get a pair of digital boots with +2 decks. I don't know, is there decks even in Final Fantasy 14? I can't remember, but this game started it all. Before this, I'd played Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, loved it. Dragon Warrior 2, loved it. But this game was just so completely different with the graphics, some of the strategies, and just fell in love with this game. So I'd like to show you the artwork and some of the designs in this. So I hope you'll stick around for Final Fantasy 2. Alright, everyone. Let's take a look at Final Fantasy II. Again, I'm just going to call this Final Fantasy II, regardless of the 4 on the cover. The version I played was Final Fantasy II, same game. Got some lovely cover art here of one of the final enemies in the game, Golbez. This is the famous Amano artwork. I think Yoshiki Amano? Amano-san, I can't remember his first name, but all of the artwork here is done by him. He had this very unique style with these, I don't know if they're watercolors, but a lot of flowing, kind of loose lines. I don't know how to describe it, but great artwork here. The artwork in the US version that attracted me to the game, the cover art of the box was very plain. Simply was a pink background that said Final Fantasy II. I believe it had a sword on it, but very minimalistic and really attractive, especially compared to what box art looked like back then. It was very busy, a lot of things going on. It was sort of reminiscent of older movie posters where you might have bad special effects, but you have these beautiful, posters with artwork on them. So this game, the box art was very different. Again, very simplistic, but really attracted me to it. But here, we've got Golbez on the cover, Square brand. If any of you are, well, you're likely familiar, it's Square Enix now, Square Enix, but at this time, the two companies were competitors. Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, and Final Fantasy were competing role-playing games. Opening this up, let me just make sure you can see this. The book is actually a bit small, and I can't quite zoom in on it as much as I would like, but I hope this will come out well. This is the second version I'm doing of this. I've recorded an entire video, and it just looks so bad. This is funny, I love this here. So this manual is, I believe, 1990. Let me see the date. 1991. Kugatsu Goka, September 5th, 1991. So, quite old. I think I was 13, 12, not even sure. But this picture here, I love this. Basically just a sort of IR filter over what looks like some kind of, I guess, a castle in Europe somewhere. But these days, not the most exciting of effects. But hey, in 91, that's pretty sexy. You got Predator vision over this. Some overworked Japanese employee in the arts department. They're like, hey, we need something more on this page, something that pops, okay? Hey, we've got this cool new effect on who knows what software they were using back then. Brilliant, put it in there. But I thought that was so quaint. Something from, just a different time. So we start out, prologue, another photo here of a forest with some kind of filter applied to it. Kane the Dragoon, yeah. Oh, Dragoon is my favorite class to play in both Final Fantasy 11 and 14. I love Dragoon. Yeah, Kane was the Dragoon. Again, great artwork there. You've got to love that Amano art. Just I believe they're watercolors, but so very unique, extremely unique, and stands out. I don't know if he does the work anymore, the artwork for Final Fantasy anymore, but really, just gotta love that. I just keep checking to make sure everything's in frame and in focus. The book's so small. Here we've got, this is curious, this looks like the Warrior of Light from Final Fantasy, I think, 1 or another game. I don't remember this character from Final Fantasy 2. I don't believe that's Cecil. Could be, I guess, but really looks like reminiscent of the Warrior of Light from a different Final Fantasy game. Then here we get to some of basically the battle system. I'll be showing you some more of these sprite character pictures later They're a bit too small to see very clearly here. Little artwork, a bomb attacking a warrior, or dark knight. But something curious, this section here about the order you could put your party members. You had 5 party members, and you had frontline and backline fighters. I'm curious if that wasn't maybe a throwback to like Dungeons and Dragons or something, influenced by D&D, which I believe is a mechanic in Dungeons and Dragons on pen and paper, where you've got your frontline fighters who take the most damage and do the most damage, and your backline fighters take less damage but also deal less damage. This was the case in this game. You had your frontline fighters up front. They would receive the brunt of the damage but also deal full damage, whereas your backline fighters, you had your healer here with Rosa, the white mage, and then your summoner with Rydia, and you would keep them in the back where they didn't do much damage, but I don't believe their healing wasn't affected by it, so you kept them basically safe behind. But you could do something interesting. Say one of your frontline fighters was down hard, took a pretty big hit, and needed to recover. You could push them back, and they would take half the damage in the back. You could get them healed a bit, and then move them back to the front. I thought that was interesting. And again, when I first came to this game from Dragon Quest, just little details like this, being able to, a bit of strategy in the game was quite interesting. I thought that was fun. This was another attractive aspect of the game when I first started playing, when I first discovered it. Okay, so we've got our character data here. Cecil. I always called him Cecil. But yeah, Sesshiru. Start out as a Dark Knight. Cecil was a Dark Knight, and you're basically a bad guy. Sorry, spoilers. It's a 30-year-old game, so apologies, but you start out as an agent of the Empire, the evil Empire, and Cecil's a Dark Knight. That's why here they've actually got lists of the items that you can use, and his doesn't go up very high because you actually, as a Dark Knight, you change over to a Paladin quite early. I think it's by level 20. He becomes a good guy, a hero. And the Paladin, he's still your main tank, more or less, but he's got some healing magic. Shiromaho, that's white magic. He can do, I think his highest heal was Cure 2, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I get some great artwork here of Cecil the Paladin, and then also as a Dark Knight. And then we see here with the items, his best weapon was Ragnarok. Ragnarok, a pretty famous sword through all the Final Fantasies. This is probably the first game to introduce it. I never played Final Fantasy 1, but from this game on, many of the Final Fantasies had these ultimate weapons, the highest weapon you could get. And Ragnarok was, if I remember correctly, was the highest. You've got Excalibur here, Excalibur. I thought Excalibur was the highest, but I'm not sure. There might be 2 different swords, but these carried over all the way into Final Fantasy 11. I think Final Fantasy 10, I can't remember, but those were his weapons. Cain, the Dragoon. Yeah, again, great artwork there. His jump ability, that's something that became part of Dragoons for all the Final Fantasy games. They would basically leap off screen and then come back a few turns later for some damage. It was actually useful. You could use this as a regular attack, but if you knew that there was a heavy attack incoming by a boss, for instance, you could use jump to get Cain off the field of battle, basically, and save a little bit of healing while he came back and dealt some damage later. He leaves the party pretty early as well, if I remember correctly. He starts out as a hero, then turns bad or something, I can't quite remember. Holy Lance, his top weapon. Rosa, your white mage. Shiromaho, white mage. She's your healer. Backline, she's part of the game, I think the majority of the game, if not all of it. But she's your healer. Yeah, really not much to say with a white mage. Her weapon was a bow and arrow, the Artemis bow. Artemis no... Oh, that's not Sumi. I should know that kanji, but the Artemis bow. And even, like I showed you a bit earlier, on back line, even if you have her back here, and she's not healing, and she only does half damage, but if you've got a free turn, you have her use her bow and just shoot at an enemy for a little bit of extra damage. Yeah, Rosa, your white mage. And then Rija. I always thought the English pronunciation was Rydia. Let me just check. I always thought it was Rydia. The spelling in English was R-Y-D-I-A. But it looks like here with the phonetic, the katakana Rija. We've got two pieces of art here. She starts as a child. Again, spoilers. Sorry, spoiler alert. Well, I don't know. Well, you visit her first as a child. I won't say what Cecil, as the Dark Knight, does to her village. You first meet her as a child. Later in the game, she comes back. You meet her a few years later. She's grown up. But she also stays in your party for a good part of the game. But she's your summoner. She conjures different creatures, and I guess they're gods. I'm not sure what they are. And they can either damage the enemy, buff the party, heal the party. She had some pretty interesting summons, actually. I don't think they have them listed here. No, these are just weapons. And this is armor. It doesn't list her summons. That's interesting. Remember, she had the classic Final Fantasy summons. Shiva, Titan, Leviathan. Who's the... Ramu, the lightning one. But yeah, it's Regia. Terra. He's only in the game for a short while with you. He's famous for the line, "You spoony bard." There's a quest line where he loses his daughter, a bard. She falls in love with this bard. And he confronts him in the line, "You spoony bard," which for years I thought it was some bizarre mistranslation, but apparently spoony, S-P-O-O-N-Y, is a real word. It's an adjective. It's some kind of derogatory term. So, yeah, spoony, but you spoony bard. In fact, my days in Final Fantasy 11 online, Garuda server, we had a spoony bard. I think he was on my friends list. So hey, Garuda, Final Fantasy 11, Spoonie, if you're out there, memories. But Tella, he was interesting. You get him in your party for a short time, but he has tier 3 black magic. So he's got, actually he was your mage, so he's got white magic and black magic, Shiromaho, Kuromaho. And what was interesting, you didn't have tier 3 spells at this time, so there's a couple, I think there's one boss when you first get with this guy in your party, and he just shreds the boss. It's almost like TG Sid from Final Fantasy Tactics. You're hitting a water boss with Thunder 3, or I think it's called Lightning Bolt, I don't know what it was called. Basically your Thunder 3 spell, like 20 levels before you get it, he shreds the boss, but then he leaves your party pretty quick, so you get this awesome overpowered character, and then he's gone. Let's see, Yang. Here's your monk. Yang's in the party for a long time as well. Doesn't go all the way to the end with you, but he's in it for a good part of the game. His best ability is kick. He has this, I guess it's not AoE, but it hits all enemies. And so you just spam kick with him, and it was kind of the easiest way to get through crowds of enemies. It was not as powerful as his regular attack, but it didn't matter when you've got 6 enemies on the screen and you just want to get through quickly. Just have him spam that, and you're doing damage to everybody. So he was good with that. Yang. Gilbert. Here's the aforementioned Spoony Bard. You have him for a very short time in the game, and he's your bard, so he gives you some buffs. Utao, he can sing. That's sing. I think he buffs the party with songs, and he attacks the party with his harp. But you have to keep him alive, and he super weak. It's almost like an escort mission. In fact, here, Kakureru, he's got a hide ability. He hides and takes like less damage. He's pretty useless. And he's really just a kind of a story character. He's not in the game very much. Parom. This is the twin sister of Porom, I guess. Wait, no. Is Porom the girl and Parom the boy? I can't remember. These guys are interesting. They're with you for, again, not very long in the game. They're with you for a bit, but they're twins. And I think one's a black mage. Yeah, okay, she's a white mage. He's the black mage. Kuro Maho, Shiro Maho. So they have their regular white mage and black mage spells, but look at that artwork. Wow, that kind of spider enemy. That's awesome. But they had their regular white and black magic spells, but they had this weird, so Futari's twin, Futarigake? Okay. They had this weird twin magic. So it would consume both of their turns, and it took a few turns to cast because it was really powerful, but it was an AoE kind of magic. One was like, I think falling star or shooting star. It was really cute. These little stars were like pew 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 pew, but they hit everything on the screen. They had that, and I think they had, it wasn't flare, mega flare. Was it flare? It was some kind of fire spell, but it did the same thing. Hit every enemy on the screen for pretty decent damage. It was not a weak spell. It took a while to cast, but it was pretty good. So yeah, Palom and Porom, they were story characters. They actually had a pretty brave little end in the game. They come back, but they bit of self-sacrifice on their part for the team. It was a pretty fun little scene, done well, even just in text, the way they do it. The walls are closing in, literally, and they, so again, no spoilers, sorry. Hey, look at that dragon. I love that artwork. That's so cool. Cid, Shido. Yeah, what would a Final Fantasy game be without Cid? Again, possibly his first appearance in the game, in the franchise. I'm not sure, but yeah, Cid the Engineer. He's been in pretty much every game. In Final Fantasy XI, he was the president of Bastuk. In Final Fantasy XIV, Cid Garland. He's a Garlean, part of the evil empire, but he rebels, and really young, pretty cool looking guy. But yeah, Cid's been all the games. He's with you for a little bit. Commands Shiraberu. Yeah, that's examine in Japanese, I think, but the ability in English was, I think it was scope or something. Analyze. Basically, he could look at a monster and tell you like all of its weaknesses, its strengths, what it was strong against, and so on. He was a pretty useful character. I think his attack, he just threw his wrench at somebody. Edge your ninja. He comes a bit later in the game, but he's with you all the way to the very end. He had a throwing ability. He could throw anything. So he would have shuriken that did damage. Yang, the monk, previously, he eventually gives you a frying pan that Edge can throw for like 10,000 damage. Well, 9,999 damage. Kyusen, Kyaku, Kyuju, Q. Point though, like 999 damage. 10,000. So he was good at throwing things. I think he could throw healing potions, like potions at your own characters to heal them. So he had a kind of a healing ability, but no, I guess anyone could use a potion, so that wouldn't work. Okay. He could also steal. It was called sneak. And if he did it, he would steal an item. It was weird though. It would just say sneak failed, and you wouldn't get an item every time. It was kind of odd. And then ninjutsu. I guess, did he have ninja magic also? I really don't remember. He comes late in the game, and by that point, you're so overpowered, you just don't really use him for much. I mean, he's a good fighter. He did decent damage, but I don't remember much of him. This, I have no idea. Fusa. I don't know if this was only in the Japanese release, or if whenever he came in the game, I just don't remember. I have a lot of memories of this game. I do not remember this guy. It says he's got white and black magic, So it's some kind of... He's a mage, but I do not remember this guy. I think that's all of the characters, yeah. And this part of the book's a bit boring. This is the strategy guide part where it just goes into like endless detail about how to fight, which is honestly, this was not a difficult game. I don't know who in the world would need page after page after page of strategies, but you know, I'm sure this company, they're just trying to sell, you know, they're trying to make money on a game guide. But seriously, how hard is it in a Final Fantasy game for Super Nintendo to press attack? But hey, you know, what do I know? This is fun. The bosses, all the different bosses. What does it say? It's actually, yeah, boss kara formation, boss character formation. Kara, that's short for boss character, boss kara. It's like not quite an abbreviation. There's a lot of Japanese phrases that do that. Miss Dragon, the first boss you meet. This is Regia's mom, actually. Spoilers, sorry. She's got two forms. She goes into mist, and I don't think you can damage her at all. You basically just heal up and then wait for her to come back. Here, Octomammoth was English. Japanese Octomammoth. Yeah, same. I think this is a bit of a precursor to Ultros. Ultros, the character that pops up in a lot of Final Fantasy games. Basically, this was 9 little enemies. You had to fight each one of his tentacles. Some of them healed, some of them attacked. And then once you killed all the tentacles, you could fight him. Antlion! That was such a funny boss in the game. He was tricky too. I think he would suck players down into the sand. You had to... I can't remember the strategy, but there was some strategy involved with him. Mother Bomb. I love that artwork. That is so awesome. It's just great artwork, and again, kind of hard to see, but the sprite version of Mother Bomb here is awesome. Yeah, she started out as 5 little bombs and then became the big one, I guess. This was the first of 4 elemental enemies in the game. This was the Earth Elemental one. Skarmiyo. Can't pronounce that. Skarmione. I'm probably butchering that. I don't remember him in the game very much. He's the first elemental boss you see, and you see him a bit early in the game, so it's a pretty easy fight. He's got some undead that he summons, and you have to kill them first. But yeah, he was your earth elemental, I believe. And then here, Bagon. This guy's weird. You kill his arms first, and then you kill him, but his arms can come back and they float. Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. Kenazo, yeah, this was the water elemental, the second of the 4 elements. This is the fight I was telling you about when you have Tella, that super overpowered wizard, Spoony Bard. This guy's easy, even though he's got like these different shields. This is a shield against magic. I think it's Bubble Shield, and this is just Shell. No, this is Shell, and this is something else. This protects against physical attacks, This protects against magical attacks. With Tella, this guy is like not even an issue. He's water based, so you blast him with thunder spells and he's dead in like 3 turns. It was ridiculous. Dark Elf and Dark Dragon. This was a weird boss in a weird dungeon. He had control over magnetism and metal, so when you're in this dungeon, you can't use any metal armor or I think even metal weapons like swords. So every fight you have to be like naked, or you're wearing cloth robes. You literally either try to tough it out, or you just have to go re-equip every character and go to a shop and buy like cloth robes. If you don't, the characters are like, they're just sort of shaking with little lines around them because the magnetism is stopping them. This was a challenging dungeon. I remember it was a long walk to get there, so you're fighting on the way through the random encounters, and then you've got to go in this dungeon and your characters are way underpowered because they can't use anything metal, and then you have a boss fight with this guy and then he transforms into a dragon. This was like the first big challenge in the game. This guy was not easy, but again, a very clever fight, and something that, at the time, even though it was a bit frustrating to try to fight through this, really turned me on to this game, was just this idea of having strategies in a role-playing game. Before this, doing Dragon Warrior, there were kind of strategies, but it was basically just attack, heal, attack, heal. Here you had to really think things through a bit, and I really thought this was a fun part of the game. And then, the Mega Sisters. The Mega Sisters, you've got, what were they? Their names, there's 3 of them. Where are their names at? I can't find them. It was something like An, Man, and Khan or something. Oh, wait. Dogu, Magu, Ragu. Dog, Mag, and Rag. The 3 sisters. I think the little one, she's the healer. You take her out first. I think the tall one is your damage dealer, so she's like physical damage. I think the middle one was the black mage, like she did your attack magic. But this another fight where you had to deal, you had to go in a certain order. If you don't take out the healer first, she's going to keep healing her sisters. Valvalis, Barubarisha. I'm pretty sure the English print of the spelling was Valvalis, but she's your wind elemental. She's one of the 4 elemental bosses. I don't think she was too difficult. I can't remember. I don't remember having too much trouble with her. Calcabrina, wow, she's you start fighting these creepy dolls. Oh, look at that artwork. Oh, that's awesome. You start fighting these creepy dolls, and then she turns into this big giant doll. Final Fantasy XIV has a great boss battle with her. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, but there's an awesome boss battle with her in Final Fantasy XIV. Great music, really creepy with these dolls, but Calcabrina. I remember I don't know if she was too difficult, but again, it's another fight. You start out fighting 6 smaller monsters, and it turns into her, so it's kind of a long fight. And then here we've got Golbez. This is the first time you encounter him. You see him again later. He's the cover art we talked about. Really can't quite recall this fight. I do remember, I don't think it was too difficult, but yeah. And then this was a weird one, Lugay, Dr. Lugay or Professor Lugay. That artwork is just zany. You start out fighting, he has a giant robot, like Frankenstein. You fight the robot, and then he jumps on top of the robot and you fight him with that. And then turns out he's some bizarre robot, and you burn away his skin, and he's some weird cyborg thing. It's pretty creative, but like the sprites are awesome for it. We'll see some of the sprites later. Dr. Lugay. And then Rubicant. Rubicant. He was a fire elemental. He was the strongest of the 4 elementals. He was tricky. I remember playing in my room and dying to this guy a few times. He had some pretty powerful spells, and he would cover himself with this cloak, couldn't be damaged, but he was a hard fight. I think my parents had people over, and I was trying to play this game and fight him, and I was getting yelled at, like, come out and say hi to your family or something. I was like, Mom, don't you understand? I'm fighting the boss. And you couldn't pause this game, and I don't think you could pause it. I can't remember, but memories. Let's see, Demon Wall. Wow, I think this is the first time Demon Wall shows up. Such a goofy but awesome creative premise. It's this weird dinosaur demon in a wall. Oh, what is this? Demons? Oh, Demon's Wall. Okay, English was Demon Wall, but Demon's Wall. And this one, the mechanic was, if you didn't do enough damage, he would keep moving towards you, and if he touches you, it was like an insta-kill, and you wiped. So you had to find a balance of putting out enough damage on him, but also healing from his regular attacks. I think the strategy was just you kept dots on him, like damage over time. You had virus and bio and anything you could just to keep that high damage going with him, to keep pushing him back. But I remember, I think I died on this once, I'm not sure. Here, you fight all 4 elemental bosses again, but they're much easier. They don't have their second form with their defense. They basically just stand there, and you can burn them all down, but they come one after the other. So it's 4 bosses in a row. But I remember this was not that difficult. And then, yeah, this is weird. I don't remember this. I do remember these guys. Something system. Is that Kyojin Seigyo? The katakana is really small there. Kyojin Seigyo system. Giant something system. Pretty sure this is Alexander. Alexander's one of the weird summons in Final Fantasy where it's a giant robot castle. It's like the size of a building. I think you go inside of him. I can't remember, but you have to fight these orbs. And again, one's a healer, one's a defense one. I can't remember, but so that looks like that's the bosses. There's some final bosses after this, but something that was quite common in strategy guides back then. They never gave you information on the final boss. This was something even in the States. I remember when you would get a strategy guide, and when you got to the final boss, it would just say, like, good luck. Like, they didn't want to spoil it for you, give away everything. I think that's what they're doing here, which you gotta kind of respect that in a way. You know, they're gonna get you a certain way or a certain distance, but then it's like, hey, it's on you now. You know, can only take you so far, young Padawan. So I think this is what they're doing with this. You had a few more bosses after this. Here's our world map. Oh yeah, here the monster list. Yes. Now, I know these aren't going to be so easy to see. I guess you can see them a bit, but if I start moving around and zooming in, it's not going to work well. So, but I love these old sprite designs. They're so detailed. You've got your sandworm. I love this centipede. I remember playing this as a kid and thinking just how awesome that artwork looked. You've got your flan or your pudding here, classic Final Fantasy enemy. What else? Got your imp. Was it classic Final Fantasy enemy? General, I guess some just army guy. Another jelly, yellow jelly. Rishi? It's kind of cool. Antlion. Got our bombs here. Bomb. Penny bomb. Oh, penny bomb. I don't know. Skeleton. Gargoyle. Here we got our mother bomb. I love that. Even the sprite work on that. More just kind of reskinned soldiers here. It's kind of cool. Soru. That's cool. Got some ghouls. Lilith. Irisu. She's awesome looking. Great artwork there. This was that boss, the Earth boss, when you first find him. He's in a robe. I really hope you guys can see these clearly. I know it's kind of small. Again, this strategy guide was so tiny, but this great pixel art here. I love this. There's Kenazo. Again, some, what is that? Sheen Snake? Sin Snake? Sheen Snake? Sheen Snake, Sin Snake. Our first coral. Ketoshi. Okay, that's usually a coral. Coral. Cool little flaming tree here. This is kind of cool. Draculady. Not Dracula, Draculady. It's kind of a hanging vampire. She's kind of cool looking. Yura Patora. It's kind of cool, like a snake lady. This was cool. Mind Flayer. This is nuts. Well, not nuts, but flares, I'm almost positive were at this time in 1991, these were an exclusively Dungeons and Dragons enemy. But you've got the classic Mind Flayer design right here. I wonder if they didn't just lift this straight from D&D. But yeah, that classic Mind Flayer. They'd show up in a lot of other Final Fantasy games as well. These are tough enemies. They're designed in any game you meet them in, even D&D. Flares they're not easy. Let's see. There's our dark elf. I like this ogre. It's great design with that. Another flan. This is Sorcerer Lady. So we had a Dracula Sorcerer Lady. Sorcerer Lady. Getting great graphics on that. Love that. Lady Gadda. Is that Lady Guard? Not sure. Marionette. Oh, Marionette. I guess she's controlling the dolls. This guy's kind of cool. An ice tiger or something like that. Chameleon. There's the sisters. Mag, Dog, Mag. Oh, Rag, Dog, Mag. Valvalis. Good art there. Again, a lot of these are just reskins of earlier enemies. Calcabrina, Golbez. Here we go. Kuaru. Yeah, Kuoro. I don't know how to pronounce that. The English is Coeurl. Coral curl. Interesting here, dragons. There's not many dragons in this game, but they do show up a little bit. Here's that robot, Dr. Lugay, and then the weird, I hope you can see this, the weird cyborg version. Just trying to make sure I didn't move this too much. Rubicant. Morboro, wow, yeah, those guys suck. These are not fun enemies. They hit you with bad breath, which basically hits you with every status ability in the game. Blind, silence, slow, poison. The worst part's the silence, because you can't heal. Because when you're silenced, you can't cast any magic, so you've got to start popping potions as quick as you can. It's kind of cool. Arachnia. Again, yeah, like a spider lady there. She's pretty cool looking. Yeah, again, you got your floating eye. Or what is this? Bloody Red? Oh, Bloody Red. Okay. But yeah, another famous Final Fantasy enemy there. What else? Another one of those hanging. Miss Vampire. So we've got Dracula Lady and Miss Vampire. Missu Vampire. That's kind of fun. I don't know what this guy is. Azarador. Oh, assault door. Okay. Maybe that's on the way to Demon Wall. This was funny. I saw this eukaryote. And then, where is it? Prokaryote. Aren't eukaryotes plants and prokaryotes animals, like the cells or something? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I took a biology class. Got a cool little robot here, a little cyborg. I think that's in the final dungeon when you're on the moon. Oh, spoilers, sorry. This guy, I love this guy. Oh, I want to move this so you guys can see this. Hold on. Now it's going to mess with the zoom. This guy looks so cool. It's a big, giant robot thing with a gun arm. I love this guy. Yeah, this is the final dungeon where you get some really unique monsters that they're not reskins. These are only in this end dungeon. Same with these dragons here. You don't see these, Skull Dragon. You don't see these in the game. They were only in the final dungeon. Again, kind of fun thing. They didn't just reskin. There's a few reskins, but you've actually got some unique enemies only in that final part of the game. Well, and then as I say that, they just reskin them again. But I guess if you're going to use those, you just do them again in the same dungeon. Here, Behemoth. He must have been a boss. Behemoth has always been a boss in Final Fantasy games. And that looks to be it. Is that everything? Yep. That's everything. Okay. Yeah. Final Fantasy. And again, 1991. How many of you were even alive in 91? Boy, I'm old. But yeah, this was just, wow. A lot of memories of this game. Here, yeah, I found this for, whoops, knocked over my lucky cat. That's Shadowfax, by the way, my lucky cat. 600 yen. Got this for 600 yen at the book off. I was, again, quite happy to find this, and just to fun little book. So many memories. So, wow, yeah. If you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, please be sure to like, to subscribe. Leave me some comments. Did you like Final Fantasy? Any old heads like me who may have played this game long ago? So, yeah. Thanks, everyone, and mata ne.